What's up, people? It's another edition of the New Breed Podcast, world's best new metal adjacent podcast from two dudes who are really there. I'm one half of your hosting duo, Jay Horsecow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious Tim Anderson Jr. Tim, how are we?
I'm feeling good, man.
We're doing all right.
These drinks are going down really, really good.
These pretzels are making me thirsty. So this week, in a rare change of events, the Tim played the reverse Uno card. Tim went to a show and I didn't.
Yeah.
And I had tickets, but I didn't go because I was exhausted from work trips. And we are going to talk about Poison the Well. So Poison
Oh,
the Well
yeah.
just played with Teenage Wrist and Better Lovers and Glassjaw.
Yes, sir.
Did I miss anybody?
Nope.
And Tim went to the show. So we're not going to talk about the show. We're going to talk about it a little bit, but we're going to talk about Glassjaw's first two albums, which are probably their most well-known albums. The
We're going to talk about
opposite.
Poison the Wells first two
We're going to talk
albums.
about. Is that what I said? Poison the
You
Well?
said Glassjaw.
Oh God. Have another beer. We're gonna talk about Poison the Well, Florida's Own. First two albums. First two full the not what's the original, what's the EP that they did before
Distance.
Distance Makes the Heart Grow Fonder? No,
Yeah,
we are
something like
talking
that.
about the opposite of December, and we were talking about Tear from the Red.
Yes.
So, how did you find Poison the Well, Tim?
Ooh, that's a good question. So, when I was back then, I used to hang out with Adam every day, basically. And it was just, he was like, he basically the hardcore encyclopedia. The kid fucking knew everything. He
Mm-hmm.
he just bleeds that shit, man. I don't know what he's doing these days, but yeah, he knew everything, man. And me, Tornello, him, a bunch of other people would just listen to all that shit. And I remember hearing the that EP, and I was like, dude, this is so good. Because back then, it's like, was that 97 when that EP came out? I think.
Yeah, it was here we go. It was
I think it was 96, 97, maybe
discography. The EP was 98 on Good
98.
Life.
Good
Yes.
Life, yeah. I remember hearing that and was blown away. Like, I still love that EP. A lot of people are like, that EP sucks. I'm like, I don't know what you're
No, it's
listening
actually
to, but
really
it's
good.
fucking good, man.
Yeah.
It's not the same singer, but it's really good. Um, I remember Opposite December got announced. I seen it through Very. If people are as old as us, they remember Very
Yep.
Distro. The write ups in there were fucking great. I remember that came out. I went to South Street at Relapse Records. They had one copy left. I fucking snatched that quick.
No
Listened
shit,
to it.
really?
Yep. Relapse Records had one copy left. And he was like, dude, you don't buy it now, you're not getting it. And I was like, give it up. Bought it there, bought a shirt. Um, we listened to it on the way home in the car, and I was fucking blown away. That's a masterpiece record, man.
Yes. Yes.
That is, to me, probably the record that set it off for me in that metalcore stuff, man. Because that's a fucking perfect record.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
just so good. It's so well written. It's like I said, it's a landmark record. I think if you asked 9 out of 10 people, they would agree.
Uh it is an unbelievably amazing record. I found it through Lamb Goat because somehow I ended up on the Lamb Goat message board. And this is back when message boards were a thing.
Yeah.
And I remember these guys all yammering about stuff. And then I got used to get the very catalog and whatnot. And I remember seeing this band and going, oh, okay, well, everybody's talking about this. I might as well, check it out. And within the first 5 seconds, all right, I'm in. I'm in.
Yeah.
And it's a short album. It's 28 minutes, right? 9 songs. But you get to the end of My Mirror No Longer Reflects, where it's the guitar is playing and he's singing, and all the other instruments have dropped out. There's no drums, whatever. You go right back and go right into the beginning.
Fuck
Like
yeah,
it,
man.
it is a fantastic album. I mean, A Wish for Wings at Work, and 3, 4, 5, right? Artist Rendering Me, Slice Paper Wrists, Nerdy.
Banger, banger, banger.
I mean, and then to Mandate Heaven, Not Within Arm's Length, right, which starts with the gang vocals. I can hear every single one of these songs in my head as we're talking through them.
Me
Just an
too.
amazing. These guys came out of nowhere. It was right when tastes were changing. New metal was going out. I guess the dad rock, Chevelle, Disturbed, Godsmack was still kind of hanging around, and these guys with Throwdown and 18 Visions and Every Time I Die and Coalesce and Converge and all that all comes flying in. And Converge, Coalesce, they'd been around for a bit, but all these metalcore, hardcore bands just come out of nowhere, and it's like, yo, they have arrived.
Yeah, I remember this record came out and they toured with shit,
They
dude. It was
they toured
Nora.
with everybody.
I was Nora, God
Yes,
forbid, Poison the Well. And there was like three other bands because I remember
they
at the Kill
they
Time
toured
back
with
then.
Red Roses for Blue Lady.
There you go.
They toured with Stretched Armstrong.
Yep.
They
Shy
put
Halud.
right the Hellfest 2K performance. Everybody knows that one. 12 Tribes.
Yep.
Jesus, they did
American Nightmare.
Central and South America. My God. Um, who else did they play with?
American Nightmare.
They played CMJ. They played a live set with SOU.
God forbid
Brothers
tour.
Keeper and Nora.
Yeah.
That was the 2000 November 2000 tour.
That
Uh,
was at
they
the Kill Time. And
they they
that
played
show was incredible, dude.
Martyr AD.
Yep.
They played Gainesville Fest. Jesus, Crazy Fest, New England Metal and Hardcore, but they canceled that one. Um, God, it's just these guys, they were on the road. So it says something. It says something about look at the analog to bands today, like 200 Stab Wounds, like Frozen Soul, like Undeath, like Speed, like I mean, you could even argue Turnstile until they got where they are now. There is something to be said about those road dogs. Orthodox, Boundaries. Boundaries has yet to stop touring. They just keep going and going and going. The bands that stay on the road, they get their chops. They get a lot of practice in. They play for anybody and anybody, everybody and anybody. That is impressive,
Yeah.
and that's how
I
you
mean,
build that muscle, right? Like Tim, have you've seen Frozen Soul live, right? Have
no,
you?
no.
I saw them 5 or 6 times in the span of 12 months, and they got markedly better in between each show. Which, I mean, it goes to show you that you keep at it, you can't help but get tighter.
Yeah, because you're basically practicing on the road if you think about it. At one point, it's like you tour, you do another one, and you're basically just practicing on the road. You're writing songs on the road. I mean, it's just like you road dog it
Mm-hmm.
out, and you pretty much like they got what they're on Century Media, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the thing. A lot
I
of
think,
bands
yeah.
nowadays, like they don't realize it's like you gotta fucking tour, dude. As
Yes.
shitty as it probably is, I don't know, but you gotta tour.
That's how you keep your name out there,
Yeah.
and that's how you make your money. It's through merch.
Yeah, I mean, look at Adam and Orthodox. They fucking tour constantly. They're on
Mm-hmm.
Century Media. They're huge now. I don't care what
Mm-hmm.
anyone says. They're fucking huge, dude. Just from at
Uh,
that Poison the Well show, the amount of Orthodox shirts I seen was crazy, dude.
Listen to this tour. Mid-March, April 2001. Poison the Well, Candiria, Origin, Cryptopsy,
Where was that at?
the Troc.
That's the show I always. That's the show I always. Remember, I told you I seen Origin at the Drock with
I
Candiria. That's
that
the
is
fucking tour,
I don't
dude.
know what the hell I was doing at this time, but that is a monster lineup.
That's the fucking tour. Remember, I was so Origin went on, and I just remember him blasting to death, and there was no pit. There was no pit at all, and I'm standing in the middle of it, and everyone is just fucking jaw to the floor. Like, what the
What are we
fuck is
watching?
going
Yeah.
on? They played
Uh-huh.
second. Then it was Candiria third. Who
Hmm.
were the other two on there? Poison the Well
Cryptopsy.
and Cryptopsy. Cryptopsy, I don't remember who the order. I know it was Origin then Candiria. I don't remember who opened and who closed
Well,
them.
it said it was a joint Poison the Well Cryptopsy tour, so I'm assuming it was a rotating headliner.
So Origin might have opened up that show,
Jesus.
but I was at that show and it was fucking sick. Yep,
That is
that's one I
wild.
always talk about when we talk about Origin at the truck. Yep, crazy shit. But dude, I remember after that fucking record came out, it was just like when Opposite of Summer came out, it was just like they blew the fuck up, man. Like quick. Like they toured so much he blew his voice out on that last tour. And I remember the roadie had to fucking do some sets because he blew his voice out. He had like this thing like a larynx, some I forget the fuck it's called, but like he
He,
literally blew his voice out.
yeah, I'm reading that now. It was Unearthed, God forbid, and Martyr AD,
Yep, that makes
and
sense.
they got into Canada. Their shit was stolen in Montreal,
Do
and
me a
Jeff
favor,
got. Mhm.
look up the tour dates for that because I'm pretty sure that was a Kill Time show as well. Because I got a gray God forbid shirt there, and somebody used it as a rag when we spilled a 40 on the floor one night.
It
They
just
fucking
says
used it as a rag.
it said Martyr AD, Poison the One, God forbid, Unearthed, Canada and the East Coast, and there's a bunch of TBA dates, but there's nothing for. Let me see if there's somebody else has it. Poison, and all these news stories come from Lamgo, which is kind of funny, by the way.
Oh yeah.
And
Because at Kill
then
Time they used to sell merch in the backyard because it would always be too packed to fucking sell it inside.
993 Philadelphia TBA. It didn't say,
Yeah, it was probably Kill Time.
but
If I was at that show, I remember that shit.
yeah, the story was. Hold on, I just fucking lost that tab. What the
And that's
story
where we were
was,
we were getting beers at New Angle. You walk in
assholes.
there 14 years old, they just give you a beer. They don't give a fuck.
So Jeff was so upset by the theft that he engaged in a screaming fit, damaging his throat, which worsened with pneumonia over the next 2 weeks on the road. So then they made arrangements with the other bands on the tour to steal their instruments to play each night. The van's tour transmission died in Montreal. Man, this was a tough tour for them. And then they got there 4 days later in Wilkes-Barre. Wilkes-Barre. They played from Autumn to Ashes, Too Bad You're Beautiful release show. But apparently, by the end of the tour, Jeff's voice was so gone
Yeah.
that they were rotating singers. Fran Mark from Autumn to Ashes, Ken Susie from Unearthed, Joe from the Second Story Window, and then Ben Peremy from Autumn to Ashes, and Charlie Johnson from Martyr AD.
Oh, okay.
And then when they returned home on September 6th, 2001, Jeff was rushed to the hospital where he was treated for a collapsed lung.
Oh shit.
So, man, he was fucked up.
They were road dogs, man.
That is something, dude. And it's funny. All these this news comes from Lamgo, which is kind of wild.
He had another thing go on the Tear from the Red tours where he blew his voice out too, and he got all fucked up from that.
We'll
I
get
think
into.
I honestly think that's what pretty much led to like on versions and all that shit, Tropic Rot, where they kind of like toned it back.
I'm looking now to see what notes they have. Promotion. Um,
Because I don't know if them two records were like meant to be like the way they were, because them two records are not anything like the first two. Not that they're like super like off the wall, but they're definitely like like
yeah,
versions and shit is it's okay.
they got kind of weird. They did after Tear from the Red, they did You Come Before You, which I didn't think was bad, but
It's not bad.
they went over to Sweden to get those two producer guys to do something different for them. And hey, look, they experimented. It wasn't necessarily my thing, but okay. So,
Let's get back in the opposite of December real quick.
okay.
So released December 14th, 1999 on Trustkill, produced by Jeremy Staska.
Yep.
I don't
Stalag 13,
remember
right?
what. Look him up real quick. What else did he do? I'm pretty sure
He
he
did a
was like one of
bunch of
them
shit in
dudes.
Florida.
Yeah, he's a Florida producer. I think it's like Deerfield or something, or Deer something, Florida. But he's done a shitload of records. I'm pretty sure in that whole scene.
I can tell you. Let's see here. Studio 13.
Yeah, Studio 13. That's right.
He did. Let's see. We filter by
Did
year.
he do Remembering Never?
I'm pulling it up now. I think so. Yes.
She looks so
Production.
good in red.
He did Strong Arm.
Okay.
Jack Off Jill, both Culture albums.
Okay.
Morning Again.
What's that?
Uh,
What Morning Again record was it?
Morning Again.
Okay.
And then he did, there's 77 producer credits listed here. Keepsake, Poison the Well,
Keepsake had a member Poison Well, I believe.
Until the End,
Okay.
Shy Halud, Another Victim, Split,
Oh,
Until
that's
the
so
End.
good.
Dude, Blood in the Ink. We should deep dive that. Santa Sangre.
Oh yeah.
And we also have Another Morning Again, Another Keepsake, You Come Before You. Uh,
Oh, he did You Come Before You?
it
Oh
looks,
wow.
it seems like it. Remembering Never Women and Children Die First,
Mm.
Where Fear and Weapons Meet, Target Nevada,
What was that? Did he do the weapon? The Where
uh,
Fear Weapons Meet. Is that the
no,
weapon?
Control,
Control. Okay.
another Jack Off Jill.
You know,
Yeah, that was
Where
it.
Fear Weapons Meet the Weapon is one of the best hardcore records of all time.
There are a lot of people who ride really, really hard for that band.
Such a good record. God damn, it's a great record. You should check that out tomorrow. If you like really fast paced hardcore that ends in 2 minutes, yeah.
I will definitely check that out. Hold on 1 second. Somebody's being a dick and causing a fight. I'll be right back. Fan.
All right. So, what I wasn't ready
To fill in the space.
to
No
fill.
worries.
Yeah,
No
I
worries.
was definitely not definitely not expecting that. So I just
No
started
worries.
laughing because
Sorry,
I couldn't
but
think of anything.
somebody was out there fucking around, so I had to go
Nah,
check
you're
it out.
good.
All right. So,
Usually I can come off the cuff with shit, and I just was like, ah, fuck.
mouthful of beer. Like, oh shit.
That's literally what it was too. That's
I will
hilarious.
tell you the one of the things that cemented this band to me was the Hellfest documentary, Hellfest 2000.
Yeah.
Remember, it's Poison the Well, Shai Hulud, Buried Alive, One King Down, Every Time I Die, 18 Visions, Walls of Jericho, Nora. I mean, the list of bands. Home Conspiracy,
This
Bane.
is the best era of hardcore.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, it's the best era of hardcore. All them bands right there, dude, you're never ever. It's never happening again. It's just
Mm-mm.
not happening. Like you're never getting a Ferret, Trust Kill, Tribunal. You're never getting that era ever again.
No.
Equal Vision,
Yep.
Good Life.
Yep.
You're never getting it again. That's
I
to me 2000 to 2000, like 98 to 2005 is the best era of hardcore in my opinion.
yeah. I oh man, now I'm going down the rabbit hole. All right, so that this one of the things to talk about with Poison Well is they had a revolving door of bassists.
Oh yeah.
That always it was always somebody different. I whenever I talk think of Poison Well, I saw them. It was Hatebreed, Poison the Well, American Nightmare, Sworn Enemy.
Yep.
I think there was another band on that tour.
There was a shitload of bands on that tour.
But it was down. Me and Rob drove down to the Auto Bar in Baltimore, and I it was violence in a way that people were not prepared for. We had Hatebreed,
Well,
Poison.
dude, back then, like I don't think a lot of people realized that back then the pits were way more violent than they are now. Like back then, it was actually violence in them pits. Now it's kind of like people pit and they get nuts and shit and all that, whatever you want to call it. But like back then, it was actually violent. Like you had to be like if you went to a Dysphoria show in the city
Mm-hmm.
in like 99, 2000, that shit was violent, dude. You went to a Bulldoze show back then, or like, any of them bands, like it was just crazy shit. Like that shit's never gonna be replicated ever again.
Uh, I every time I think of that tour, the Hatebreed, Poison the Well tour, I think of one of so the last it was 1/20/2001. Um, I remember I remember there was a show. It was at the West Babylon VFW with a Babylon American Legion in out Long Island. We should have asked Horsey about this. It was Hatebreed, Poison the Well, American Nightmare, Sworn Enemy, Converge, Shadows Fall, God Forbid.
Yeah,
And
this was at 4040, right?
no, this was at it was up in Babylon, New York, at some American Legion.
Oh yeah, but
And
this was the Equal Vision tour, wasn't it? Where it was
oh,
like American
oh,
Nightmare headlined, Bleeding
no, I
Through played
no,
that.
no, this was it was Poison the Well. It was Hatebreed tour with
Okay,
Poison the
okay,
Well
okay.
as the opener, and they had a rotating undercard. So it was Hatebreed, Poison the Well, and then I think it was Sworn Enemy were the three, and then they had a rotating undercard. But this is the show that West Babylon, New York show is infamous because apparently that was the first and only time that venue had ever seen a show. And there were people who still talk about how the one Lamb Goat quote. I was at the Babylon show. It has become one of the most infamous Long Island hardcore shows of that era. The bathroom looked like a scene from the movie Saw by the end of the show. Uh, I was 12 years old at the show, and I'm now in my late 20s. I will always remember this. Every band on that show was amazing and went on to get 10 times bigger. And then somebody else put, I went to the show on 1230 in New York. I was 16. I'm now 28. They haven't had a show there since. So that was something else, dude. That was something else.
Yeah, there was a tour in Philly, and way back then it was at the club. It was like Club 4040 or just called 4040 or something. And it was like a huge eulogy or like Equal Vision Fest. It was like American Nightmare, Converge, Bleeding Through. I don't know why they were there. Fucking dude, I can't even remember all the there was like literally 12, 14 bands there. It was all day. And it was a fucking riot, dude. It was ridiculous how much shit was going on there. Like
Mm,
that was like, you know, like the super violent and
yeah,
like people actually fucking were like killing people at them shows, man. Like you were like that was back in the times where like the pits were scary as hell, and like you thought twice before
yeah.
stepping in them things, man. Cause it was like it's not there where it's not anymore where like people are doing that stupid crowd kill bullshit. Like you didn't see that shit kind of like you didn't see it as much.
Right.
If people were crowd killing back then, they were crowd killing. Like nowadays, it's just people punching people for the hell of it. Like this was a different breed of violence back then. Like there was people
Um,
leaving with bloody, no broken noses all the time, and
Slightly aside, Tim, do you remember Robot Mosh Fest?
mm-mm.
Do you remember hearing about that? There is a DVD for that. And if anybody is watching and has a rip of it, please, please let me know because I would really like to watch it. Was this the one that was in 2007? I think so. Listen to this lineup. You ready for this lineup? So this was up in Wisconsin. A Life Once Lost,
Okay.
After the Burial, An End to Flesh, As Blood Runs Black, Beneath the Massacre, Beneath the Sky, The Black Dahlia Murder, Born of Osiris, Carnival, Catherine, Cattle Decap, Cephalic Carnage, Decapitated, Dead to Fall, Empire, Emure, Everest, The Faceless, For Dire Life's Sake, From a Second Story Window, Harlots, He Who Corrupts, Ion Dissonance, Lie by Mistake, Necrophagist, Paria, Plaguebringer, Russian Circles, Shit Out of Luck, Tower of Rome, Veil of Maya, Winds of Plague, with Dead Hands Rising.
Wow. Do you
Think
remember He
about
Who
that
Corrupts?
in 2007. Every single one of those bands could probably go on to headline would probably go on to headline a show.
He Who Corrupts was one of the best grindcore bands of all time.
I I
Amazing band.
I need to find this DVD. The DVD is from the 2002 show, and it's Die Alone, For Dire Life's Sake. Never a big fan of them. Wings of Scarlet, big fan.
Hell
Forever
yeah.
is Forgotten, Bury Your Dead, Every Time I Die, Bleeding Through, and Seven Angels, Seven Plagues.
Oh yeah.
Where is no for sale on this? We got to find somebody who's got a copy of this so we can just rip it and put it out on the internet.
Somebody's got a copy of it. There's
And it
probably
was,
a shitload of people on hardcore Reddit that have that.
you know what? I'm going to go and post that tomorrow. I'm going to go and ask. Um,
Let's get back to Poison Well real quick.
yeah, let's get back to Poison the Well here. So back to Poison the Well. So Opposite of December is a monster album. They tore the fuck out of it. Everybody's talking about this band. It is blowing up Trustkill. Everybody knows Nerdy. Everybody knows Nerdy. So then they have to follow this. They have to
Well, let me
follow
ask
this
you this
album
though.
up.
Do you think Poison the Well is the biggest Trustkill band for them? Do you think that
Yeah,
put him on the map?
yeah. Poison
Absolutely.
the Well is what put him on the map. That's what got everybody paying attention.
I think so as well because when Terror from the Red came out and they toured a little bit on that record, I remember them getting a huge like major label presence thing after them, and it
Mm-hmm.
was like a bunch of major labels trying to get after them. They didn't they sign with Atlantic?
I think so. Who? Poison the Well?
I think Atlantic put out You Come Before You, right?
I'm looking now.
Because they
Yes,
signed with
yes.
Trustkill and it was two full lengths and an extended play.
Yeah.
Here's my question too: why the fuck do they call an extended play when it's way shorter than a full length? I never understood that my entire life.
LP is long play, so it's single. Think about it. The thinking used to be single, extended play, long play. EP, LP.
Gotcha. Okay.
Uh,
Gotcha. That makes
yeah.
sense now.
So they went to Atlantic for that one, but Opposite of December is what put Trustkill on the map. Like I would argue that Every Time I Die put Ferret on the map.
Yeah.
Hot damn, put Ferret on the map. 18 Visions was Trustkill, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, until the ink runs out, that was huge for them. It was huge for them. But I think Last Night in Town and some of the other stuff on Ferret put them on the map as well, which is wild that they were friends and they were friendly competition, but they never like sniped each other. And yeah, it was yeah,
Well,
good
there's
stuff.
bands from Trustkill that went to Ferret.
Yes, I mean,
I think
and
Poison the Well went to Ferret eventually,
yes,
right?
yes, their
Yeah.
versions in the Tropic Rot was on Ferret.
Ah, that's right. That's right. And you had bands like who else went to Ferret from Trustkill? There's definitely
There's
a
so
few.
much. There was a lot of incestuousness there that we'd have to go look at it. So
In your opinion though, like Opposite of December, I mean, obviously it's one of the best records of that genre, but like is it and people obviously people call it a landmark record, but like when you think about metalcore back then, like to me, back then the biggest metalcore bands, and I'm gonna put this one band in here because I know it's not considered a metalcore band, but Converge has to be one of them bands that is like so seminal and people just took after a lot. And I'm gonna call them metalcore because back then there wasn't all this genre bending shit. You know what I mean?
hmm
You just call it
yep.
Converge a metalcore band. In my opinion, you did.
hmm
There's like three bands back then. It's Poison Well, in my opinion. It's Converge, and the other one would have to be like I'm gonna go with what you said. It's Every Time I Die because I feel like them three bands. Because back then they also called Every Time I Die a metalcore band. It was not like, oh, they're a fucking blah 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 band. It was
hmm
metalcore. It was just metalcore because, like I said, you didn't genre bend back then. There wasn't like, well, this is post hardcore, post punk, death metal. Like, you know what I mean? Like people do
Yeah.
that dumb
Yeah.
shit nowadays. But I feel like them three bands back then kind of spawned into like, Poison Wells metalcore. Converge goes into more of the
Chaotic shit. Yeah.
chaotic, like experimental sound, and Every Time I Die goes into like the rockish influenced, like what would you call it, like mathcore or something. Like people always had these weird shit going on, but I feel like them three bands spawned each way it went. You know what I mean? Like Seven
hmm
Angels, Seven Plagues basically spawns. If you ask me, it's Seven Angels and Poison the Well who spawned that exact sound right there. Like, how many bands have fucking ripped off Opposite of Summer and Jasmine's
Yes.
Lullaby?
Yes.
A million fucking
Countless.
bands.
Countless.
Even today, there's bands that go, "Oh yeah, we took inspiration from Jasmine's Lullaby." Yeah, no shit, I can hear it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
And then if you go a few years later, who's the other band that spawns it? It's Misery Signals.
Yes, yes, an entire generation of bands. So let's
Yeah.
talk about that. So we got Poison Well comes out with the opposite of December. They road dogs. They just tour religiously. Then they go back and they got to do the next album. And I think they were going to start with a cover or something. They were going to release that.
Well,
Um,
they did so what they did, and I remember this because Adam, like I said, was the encyclopedia. Poison the Well did a comp track because I don't know if people listening if you're young, compilations used to be fucking huge back then.
mhm.
There would always be a comp, and it would be 20 bands from like different labels. It'd be like 4 bands from Trustkill, 3 bands from Good Life, 2 bands from Eulogy. It would just be huge. They always did that shit, and that's where you used to find a lot of the new bands, or like a lot of the bands that were putting out new records. It would always have a comp track. And Poison the Well did, I think it was Sticks and Stones. They did it on a comp, and it was not the recording that's on Tear from the Red. It's a different recording, and it sounds
Okay.
way better. It sounds way brutaler. Like it was actually like a brutal, like moshy. Like that song has that mosh part at the end where you're like, oh shit, that's really good. But the comp track of it is so much fucking better. I have to find it for you. I know I have it. It's so
Yeah.
much better.
Yeah. Find that and send it over. Um, so they go into the studio and they apparently bang this out for $6,000 in
Yeah,
fairly
6 grand.
quickly,
Yeah, I read
which
that
is
earlier. Yeah,
wild to think about. But this comes out, and this I actually think blows them up.
yeah. That's where
Like
they got
this
the
was
major label.
yes, this was Trustkill's big release. Um, and I forgot. I remember seeing something that how many copies they actually moved. It was something insane. But this was Trustkill at their this was them arriving, right? Everybody was waiting for this album. I remember following Lamb Goat, following all these message boards. They're all talking about it. They're all talking about what's it gonna sound like, what's it gonna sound like. This came out and I actually loved it. I said, okay, this makes sense. It is a logical progression from where they were. It adds a couple of different sing-songy stuff, but it's still really heavy and really aggressive. And I was just like, I'm sold.
You know what the craziest thing about this record is? It was produced by Jeremy again, and the production, it was, I don't know what it is about that record. It just doesn't sound as good as I think it should. Like I don't know like how the excuse me, I don't know how the recording techniques were back then. Like I know nowadays you can sample whatever the fuck you want, your kick, your snare, whatever you want to do. I just feel like the kick was left behind. It's super muddy. If I have the hiccups right now, I'm going to be very angry. But it was super muddy. You could barely hear it. Like in the mosh parts, you're like, dude, if you just gave it a little bit more punch, this record would be so much better.
I don't know what you're talking about. I fucking loved it.
Really?
Oh,
I
I
don't know
loved
what
it.
it is, man.
I saw them. I was so enamored by this. I paid to see them. They opened for Strung Out.
Yeah.
It was Strung Out, Poison the Well, Rufio, and I think it was either Against Me or Rise Against.
Rufio is so, I love Rufio.
Um I was a man out of my element in that show because it's like all these pop punk kids, and I'm like,
That's
probably,
a fucking
probably
great band.
a very young Cody from Gloves Off was probably in the audience bouncing around to that pop punk shit.
Probably.
Without tattoos, and before puberty, he probably still was like 6'2".
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
shout out to Cody, Great American Typewriter. We're gonna get them on the show, but I remember loving this album, dude. And this was I saw every tour I could with them on it. They played the Take Action. Was it Take Action Fest?
Yeah. They used to put that comp CDs out every year. A
Yep.
Take Action
Yep.
Fest. Yep.
I loved this album. And I actually really, really enjoyed You Come Before You as well. It's
Yeah,
after that I kind of just fell off that You Come Before You was more rock influence. You could tell they were going
yeah.
for more of a hey, maybe there's a slim chance we get on the radio.
Yeah. I think Opposite of December was actually supposed to come out on Good Life. And then they put like a demo thing out, and Trustkill was like, "Yep, we're signing them." It was like Good Life was super pissed off. I actually think Good Life put out um the vinyl version of Opposite of December, if I'm
Yes.
remembering correctly.
Yes. They also did the vinyl for Tear from the Red.
Okay. So I think what they did was they basically merged into like, all right, you can put out the vinyls, but we're gonna put out the CDs like Trustkill wise.
Yeah,
I think
it
that's how
says
that
here,
happened.
Opposite December was initially scheduled to be released by Good Life Recordings,
Yeah,
but the
okay.
band gained the attention of Trustkill, who signed them to a three-release deal less
Yeah.
than a week after the record was completed.
Okay,
So
okay.
Good Life did the 12-inch vinyl while Trustkill released the CD.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that was part of something like that. Which is here's another good question. If Good Life puts out Opposite of December, is it as big?
No.
I don't think
Um,
so either.
I'm going to disagree. I think it would. I think it would have been
Yeah?
that big. Yeah, I mean, again, this band was a fucking force, and for whatever reason, it was something in the zeitgeist, in the noosphere, whatever you want to call it. Something in the environment just had it pop off. I mean, they probably would have taken a different journey.
Yeah.
You know what I get Good Life confused with Goodfellow?
Good fellow, yep. Which was another great label back then.
We could probably we could probably deep dive that catalog because they didn't put out a lot before they disappeared. Um,
Absolutely.
I'm trying to find out.
Didn't I think the both of them did Bannon do both of them late did he do
He
Tear from the
did
Red and Opposite of
he did
December?
Opposite of December. Terror from the Red was the guy from Demon Hunter.
Yeah, oh Don Clark.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Which
I'm
he
look
does a lot of good stuff actually.
Yeah, I'm looking at Goodfellow records, and it's Jesus. Disciple, Every Time I Die,
I fucking love Disciple.
Taken, Shogun, Rise Overrun, Spitfire, Purity's Failure, What Wishes Can't Mend, Premonitions
Ooh.
of War,
Are you wait,
Perfect
hold on, I'm gonna
Murder.
stop you right there. Are you familiar with what Wishes Can't Mend?
No.
Dude, so good. Another
Uh,
Florida band.
Bludgeon,
I love Bludgeon.
the first of Perfect Murder,
Oh yeah.
Blessing the Hogs. They did The Secret. They did Cursed too.
You
They
talking
did
about the secret from Italy?
yes.
Yeah.
Despised Icon, their first album, The Healing Process.
Oh fuck yeah.
They did Intronaut. And they did one of my favorite fucking Philly bands, Passion. We should try and find
Dude.
somebody to get them on the show.
Dude, I cannot believe you remember Passion.
Oh, I love that album. The Fierce Urgency of Now. I love
Yeah.
that album.
You remember Pray for Rain?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Passion was amazing. I always think about there was a note on YouTube where they did a reunion show at Ortlieb's not too long ago, and the guitarist shouts out Sonny from Hate 56, or he said we had to go back and watch an old recording to figure out how to replay some of these songs.
That's
Uh
hilarious.
what you know what? If any of these guys are listening, come on. We would love to have you on. I should find a way to find these guys and because they're all Philly locals. So, but yeah, I love that album. So let's go back to Tear from the Red. So this comes out, and just like Opposite of December was a bomb. This was a thermonuclear bomb. This just blows them up. They go out with fucking everybody. Between November '01 and October '02, they toured with everybody.
Let me ask you this. Do you think Tear from the Red is a better record? It's super hard to fucking
I
I'll do this while you're thinking. Opposite of December is, like I said, a landmark record. It's one of them records that completely changed the way I think about music. Tear from the Red comes out. It's like, yo, man, these songs are so well written. And it's basically an extension of Opposite of December, in my opinion. But it's got that edge of where they were like, we need to change it up a little bit. And I'm really, really glad they did, because you got two records that were amazingly well done, in my opinion. Like, they changed it up in a way where it was like you didn't get the same as Opposite, but you got a little bit more in a better way. I don't know if it sounds super weird the way I'm saying it, but it's just like, I think if they wrote Opposite of December again, they don't get as big as they did.
I to answer your question, do I think it's a better album? No. But if you
Okay.
said to me, do I think Opposite of December is a better album than Tear from the Red? The answer would again be no. I think they are both points in time for this band
That's what I
along
was trying to say.
along a
Yep.
continuum of their maturity where they're just different enough that each one of them holds their own weight and their own value. But I don't know if I think they're both equally amazing just for different reasons. To your point, you were not wrong. Here's Opposite of December. And then they changed a little bit of things here and there. They tried some different stuff. They matured, obviously, as
Yeah.
songwriters. The playing got tighter because when you tour for fucking 2 years, you can't help but get tighter. Um, I wouldn't think it's better or worse. I just think it's a different version of Poison the Well.
That's exactly what I was trying to say in a weird way.
I got where you
Like
were going with
it's
it. Yeah,
like it's like think of a band that you love, like Deftones did it on Around the Fur. It's more of a post-hardcore sound. You know what I mean?
yeah.
On White Pony, it's like, all right, we could say it's kind of a new metal sound, but
No, they
they
get
paved their own lane.
shoegazy
Yeah, they
and
paved
yeah,
their own lane on that record.
yeah.
That's why it's so good, and I think that's why Tear from the Red got the attraction it did, because it was like, yo, man, this is the same but different at the same time.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why Atlantic was like, we need to jump on this now because this is the next big thing, and it was for like 5 6 years later. Like the next big thing was like, how big was Misery Signals was fucking huge after that.
Yes. When that album came out, that album was massive.
That was Ferret, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because remember, there was Seven Angels, Seven Plagues Implodes.
Yep.
Then you have the Misery Signals EP, which is awesome.
Mm.
Awesome. 5 song EP, which is awesome. And then the full length came out, and it was just, hey, this is the new shit. Get on with
What
it.
what was that record called again?
Of Mouse and the Magnum Art.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, that's listen. I know it's a perfect record. I know I like Controller better, but god damn, that record is so good.
Every time I think of that album, all I hear is the intro. The dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun,
dun.
dun, dun, dun,
Yep,
dun, dun, dun,
yeah,
dun. Yeah. I
yeah.
mean,
And seeing that at This Is Hardcore that one year was just, I was like, okay, I can
have
fucking
you
die happy now.
have you ever seen the Rain City Recorders set that
Oh,
Misery? Dude,
unbelievable. I actually bought a copy of that the documentary they did about when they first did the reunion tour where Jesse was joining them and they were all nervous about how it was going to go.
yeah.
My wife and I sat down and watched that, and she was like, "This is really good. Are they good live?" I'm like, "Kim, they were amazing. They
Oh,
were
you're talking
amazing
about
live."
the DVD they did.
Yes, the DVD where they did the reunion shows. Yeah,
Was it yesterday? Was something?
yesterday was everything. Yes,
Yeah, that is an amazing hour of
yeah.
footage right there.
Yeah, just
Amazing hour.
watching the band come back together and work through their shit. Yeah. Speaking of a band coming back together and work through their shit, Finch has been very quiet. I would not be surprised if they come out with a new album. If they come out with a new album, I'm going to go see them tour because every time they put out an album, I miss it. I miss the Philly What It Is to Burn X reunion shows.
You were there.
I wasn't there. I was
Yes,
at
you were.
the no, I was at the show when the Atlantic City show got canceled. That
No, no,
me and
no,
you
no, no.
saw.
Oh yeah, yeah, you were
That
there.
was the
Okay,
Saves the
okay, that's
Day,
right.
and who was the opener? It was another
Oh, I forget. But yeah, it was Saves the Day and Finch.
about
Yeah,
Venice or something like that, or whatever, something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But no, it was What It Is to Burn X, and I skipped the Philly date, and they were one of those bands that I always wanted to see, but I never got to see them live. I think they got something cooking.
Yo, who did that Misery Signals? Was that the DVD? Was that Doug's? Do you remember Doug
Spangenberg? Yeah,
Spagenberg?
Spangenberg, yeah. He
Did he
did
do that?
High Roller Studios, Signals.
He's the one that did all the Hellfest stuff, right?
Yes, yes. And
I have that 2K3 DVD still.
yesterday was everything.
Yeah, and Doug did it.
I'm looking now.
What didn't Doug pass away,
I don't think so.
or did he just sell his company and he just doesn't do it
Well,
anymore?
they fell apart. Um, it fell apart at the end of that one Hellfest. Hold on.
Why do I feel like he might have passed away or something? If he didn't, I'm sorry to even say that because he put out a lot of really cool shit.
High Roller Studios.
They did it.
They no. The director of that DVD, believe it or not, was Matt Mixon.
Oh, it was Mixon. Oh shit. Okay.
Yes.
From Seven
High,
Angels.
yes. High Roller Studios.
Wow, I didn't
Uh,
know. I did not know Matt Mixon did that. Yeah, I'll tell you what. While you're looking that up, man, people that do not know that Seven Angels, Seven Plagues stuff, holy shit, man, that record is fucking monumental. Yeah, the recording on that record is so fucking shit, and it's so good at the same time.
which one?
Seven Angels, Seven Plagues, Jasmine's Lullaby.
You don't like it?
I love it. It's so shit, but it's so good.
Ah, you're fucking out of your mind.
No, no, no. I love it. It just sounds like shit.
Oh,
But
High
back
Roller.
then, he didn't have to be that good.
Oh, so High Roller Studios, they just folded. Apparently they explained it, but there's no. It's on an old website which is dead. But that the Hellfest DVD would never be released, which was Hellfest 2004. The entire DVD had been edited, but and ready for release, but the bands never signed releases. So Radio Takeover never got the bands to sign releases. So all that shit was taped and shelved, and
Wasn't
uh
Sonny gave some of that stuff?
so Spangenberg in 2013 gave Sonny everything from Hellfest 2001 and 2004. Um, but I think the Hellfest videos keep, you know how Sonny does, you have to vote for what you want to release next. I think that keeps getting knocked down on the bottom. And I remember I interviewed him once for a different show, and he talked about how the Dillinger called him when that footage came out because they had no idea it existed, and he just released it. He's like, the
Yeah.
band has to know it's out there. I'm going to release it. And they released it, and they called him and they were like, where did you get this?
But
How
here's my
how did these
question though.
boobs, how did these guys not get releases?
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, why even care at this point? Your fucking shit's all over YouTube anyway. Who gives a shit? It's like, oh, some band that's not even together anymore. No, you can't release that. What are you fucking serious right now?
Dude, I remember Jacob Bannon gets up and this is before You Fail Me came out. How many of you downloaded our new record? And I was, yeah, fuck you. And then he goes right into the song. Yeah.
Yeah, this completely turned into a not poison the well episode, and I love
Mm.
it.
Well, we're ostensibly talking about Poison Well, but all the shit that went around. All right, so let's bring this one home.
That's true.
So Tear from the Red comes out, blows them up even further. They're playing with everybody, they're touring with everybody. And it leads to them being signed by Atlantic. They go to Sweden to have those two Swedish guys produce the next record, which takes on a very much hard rock type turn. I was not a fan of versions. I was not a fan of the Tropic Rot of 1, 2, 3, 4, the singles that they released. Not really into it.
The singles weren't bad at all, actually.
I have gone back though and listened to the Tropic Rot, and there are some songs like the Pamplemousse, and there are a couple other ones where it's interesting, keeps your ear, but not anything that it's not the Tear from the Red, Poison the Well that I loved.
Yeah. I mean, you're never coming back to that time period where like
Right.
records, like in my opinion, records back then, like all right, it's 2025. Has there been there's one record that has gave me that feeling, and it actually gave me that feeling like 2 weeks ago. There's no records from like 2010 to now that really give you the feeling of you're like, dude, that record is so good. I'm gonna remember this in 20 years and be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Back then, there was a shitload of records that gave you that feeling of like, holy shit, man, like what a time to be alive. Like for me right now, that new Thornhill record gave me that feeling. But like back then, like that, like Tear from the Red, Opposite
It's
Summer,
the
they
it's the
gave you that
nothing.
feeling
Yes, it's
of
the nothing will
like
ever be sound better than this. That feeling. And then the
exactly,
next
yeah.
album comes out and you get it again and you're like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, like music these days is it's just not as good as it was back then.
I don't know if I would say not as good. It's different, but it's optimized for things for a different audience. It's optimized for headphones. It's optimized for
Yeah.
YouTube. It's optimized for mass consumption and clipping. It's not the artist making art for the purpose of making art.
Yeah.
And it
Okay, you're right.
goes, there's more of a, sadly, there's more of a game that's played with it.
It's more of a just get the record out.
Yeah, I mean, there are still, I mean, and I don't mean this to malign any bands because I still think there is art for art's sake for a lot of these bands, but I just think that there's like the compression wars and how things are mastered and things sound a little tinny and everything is mixed at the max volume. So, I mean, it's just it's a different type of experience.
Yeah, and you're 100% right about that because back then I mean, obviously we had headphones and we were listening to CD bands and all that shit, but like you just don't get the feeling anymore where like a record comes out and you buy it at Best Buy and you put it in your CD player in your car on the way home and it's just like holy shit, man.
Yeah, yeah,
You just don't get that feeling anymore. Like
yeah.
and like I
It's
said, that Thornhill record, if you haven't listened to it yet, and people listening, if you haven't heard the new Thornhill record, you're really, really doing yourself a disservice.
I have
That
heard
shit is incredible.
I've heard clips, but I will tell you what you have me listening to most is the newest Bleed record. I have gone back and listened to
Oh
that
fuck yeah.
nonstop. I think it's fantastic.
Well, you need to listen to the new Thornhill because it's my album of the year. It might be my album of the fucking decade right now. I'm not even lying.
All
It's
right.
that good.
All right. All right. So let's take this one home, Tim. So check out Poison the Well, people. Don't be stupid. New Breed underscore podcast, Twitter and Instagram, newbreedpodcast@gmail.com, 267-297-4627 for all your audio complaints. Find us on r/new metal and on our Facebook page. New episodes every Wednesday at 12 p.m. New reaction vids every Friday at 12 p.m. Start your lunchtime before the weekend off right with us. See you next week. Cheers.
Later.